Today's video is brought to you by ablmerch.com. Get all the latest hot merchandise, including the I Survived the Pandemic hats, t-shirts, stickers, mugs, and more through the link in the description box below. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Georgia's new voting law, SB 202, and the crazy reaction it's gotten. You got a bunch of regular lefty normies that are talking about, oh, this disenfranchises black people. And I take personal offense to that. I'll talk about that a little bit later. They'll say, this is the new Jim Crow. This is ridiculous. You're operating on the big lie that the election was stolen from Donald Trump in 2020. All these different things that they're saying about this, in my humble opinion, simply are not true. However, you got a bunch of major companies like Coca-Cola and Delta that have slammed the state's decision to tighten up voting laws. And also Major League Baseball has boycotted the state in a sense. The Braves are still there, obviously, but there was going to be an all-star game in Atlanta at the Braves Stadium. They canceled that. They've also canceled the Major League Baseball draft that was going to be in Atlanta. I've read that the cancellation has cost Atlanta like $100 million in potential revenue. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. But I would think a city like Atlanta that got hit really hard by the virus and, you know, it's poverty kind of rampant out there. I think $100 million might help the city. It might help the area. Now, before any big brain super genius says, oh, ABL, the stadium's in Cobb County, not Atlanta. Look, we all know that Atlanta itself, the city is small. Atlanta really is the city proper and the surrounding area. So let's not play any games, but for now, I digress. This is a really ridiculous thing, not only because the voting law is actually a good law. I'll talk about that in a moment, but it was also going to honor Hank Aaron because obviously he played for the Braves and he died earlier this year after he got the vaccine, but that's a different story. They were going to honor Hank Aaron and it was going to be a whole big thing. Now they don't know where they're going to have it. Talking about, oh, we're going to Milwaukee because that's where Hank Aaron started. It's like, are you dumb? Stop. Let's stop the madness. This whole thing is really ridiculous. Now, the law is not that bad, not in the least bit. And if Major League Baseball has a problem with Georgia and what they did, why not New York? I think the reason they want to focus on Georgia is because they see Georgia as a swing state. Not so much in New York. They think New York's going to be blue regardless, so it don't even really matter. But Georgia, there's a little bit of an opening right there. And they want to keep the avenue open to cheat if they want to. I'm not saying they are going to cheat. I'm not saying they did cheat. I'm not saying that election fraud, which did happen in the 2020 election, according to all major news outlets, I'm not saying it was enough to change the outcome of the election. I would never say a thing like that because I believe in the science. I believe in the truth, right? That's what they say, right? But some people might want to keep that option open. Here's what I was offended at before we get to the details of the actual bill, because I do have that. And again, I'll link to it in the description box below. But this is what really kind of triggered me. This is a tweet from Mark Elias. I don't know who that is, really. He just happens to have a blue check beside his name. But you can see this tweet right here on your screen. It says, the new Georgia law will require voters to submit ID to vote by mail. I don't see what's wrong with that. You can have many different forms of ID. We'll talk about that in a minute. If they use a driver's license, they need to provide the number, the driver's license number. And there's a picture of a driver's license. But before we get to that, it says one of the two numbers below is correct. If they put the other, it will be rejected. Are you sure you would pick the right one? Here is the picture. Matter of fact, let me move it over a little bit so you can see exactly what's going on here. So, I mean, is it hard to tell which of these is right and which is wrong? Is it hard? There's two numbers that are highlighted. One at the very bottom, one at the very top. The one at the very top, right beside it says DLNO period, and then just, random numbers. Maybe that's the right one. The very first one at the very top, DL no. Driver's license number. Maybe that's what that means. maybe this guy, Mark, thinks that black folks, because let's be clear, they want to say, oh, you're just enfranchising black folks. It's a black lady right there. Let's be clear. We know what they're saying. He's not going to say it directly, but that's what they say. That's what they really mean. They think that black folks are too dumb to figure out what this means. They want to use how they think about us to push a thing to have the avenue open to cheat. That's just really what's going on. That's long and short. I'm offended by that. It's just clearly, obviously, easy to tell what's happening here. It's not a difficult thing to do, okay? And like I said, there's many other forms of ID that are acceptable in Georgia to go ahead and vote absentee. Okay, you go to third world countries, Nigeria, parts of India or whatever, you got to have ID to vote there as well. Okay, they're outside in the extreme heat, near desert. It doesn't matter, but they get their ID on them. So if the majority of your country lives on $2 a day in Nigeria and they have ID, why can't Americans do it? It's because people want to cheat. That's the bottom line. Let's get to what this bill actually is about. This is a pretty long read. I'll link to it in the box so you guys can see it for yourself, because there's quite a bit to quote unquote unpack here, as the cool kids say. All right. Now, the name of this bill is called the Election Integrity Act of 2021. And I think the greater purpose of this, beyond securing the election, which is very important, is to instill confidence in people that are going to go out there and vote. I mean, the big issue in this past election, the Senate runoff with Perdue and Ossoff, all these people, it was a lack of confidence. We saw what was going on in Fulton County. There was no confidence. So we need to have these rules in place to not only secure the election, but also to instill confidence, right? Now, so changes to absentee voting, and again, I will skim through this, so it'll be in the box. So if you're over 65 years old, if you're a senior citizen, you're disabled, in the military, or you live overseas, you can apply one time and continue to get your ballot automatically, your absentee ballot automatically. But if not, then you got to apply every time. And the time you have to request it will be reduced. It was 180 days, which is 6 months. But now it's 11 weeks, which is about 2.75, almost 3 months. So about half the time you have to, get your ballot. But that's not a small amount of time, 3 months. I mean, come on. And then the final deadline to complete an application has been bumped up by a week. So rather than return it right before Election Day, on the Friday before Election Day, it'd be the Friday before that. And the reasoning behind that is to prevent anybody from having their applications rejected because they're too late. So really, it's to protect you, because if you mail it in, if you send it right on that Friday, things could get lost in the mail. You got snail mail. It's just to make sure that your application gets processed and everything is all right. It's to protect your vote, not to steal your vote from you. Okay, another new rule that affects both in-person early voting and election day voting will prohibit anyone except poll workers from handing out water to voters in line, and outlaw passing out food and water to voters within 150 feet of the building that serves as a poll, inside the polling place or within 25 feet of any voter standing in line. Depending upon the location, it is still possible for third-party groups to have food and water available, and it is possible for those lines to extend beyond 150 feet. So basically what that means is you're not going to have these people that are paid for by, I don't know, Stacey Abrams from governor or John Ossoff for Senate out there in their stuff giving you food and drink, trying to bribe your vote. Talking to you before you get to the poll about, hey, who are you going to vote for? Here's a sample ballot filled out by all Democrats. And then they go into the line and try to give you some snacks to bribe your vote, right? There's already laws in place that prevent that kind of thing from happening. So it really shouldn't be a big deal at all. Okay, not in the least bit. Now, here's the early voting changes. One of the biggest changes in the bill would expand early voting access for most counties, adding an additional mandatory Saturday. So they're going to add a Saturday and formally codifying Sunday voting hours as optional. Counties can have early voting open as long as 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the minimum. If you live in a large metropolitan county, you might not notice a change. For most other counties, you will have an extra weekend day, and your weekend early voting hours will likely be longer. So they're expanding it. They're giving you more options. What's the problem? A change local officials embrace is a section that allows them to begin processing but not tabulating absentee ballots starting 2 weeks before the election. There's extra incentive to do so by way of a new requirement that counties will count all of the ballots nonstop as soon as polls close and finish by 5 p.m. the next day or potentially face investigation. So ain't gonna be no more of this, okay, we taking days, weeks, months, years, or whatever to count these ballots. We're going to get it done very quickly, and everybody will have confidence that it ain't nothing funny going on, right? That's the main thing that I see here is we're going to provide security. We're going to provide confidence. We're going to tighten this up because in 2020, there was a lot of things that happened as far as changing rules and doing different things because of the, basically universal mail-in ballots happened across the country. It's all kind of different things that were changed and a lot of different, it was kind of in disarray. So rather than having all these things going on and people kind of confused about what's happening and long delays, let's tighten this whole process up. There's a lot here, like I said, and this will be in the description box, but I don't see the problem. I don't see the issue. I think what's happening here is that one of the main things they don't want is a voter ID because that leaves the door open for fraud. That's just really what it is. And also the food thing. They're using the food thing to just try and get people on their side to say, oh, this whole law is racist, rescind the law, boycott Georgia. All you're really doing when you boycott in Georgia is hurting black folks. Atlanta is a black city. You taking away $100 million from Atlanta where they need it. The crime in Atlanta is sky high. I'm talking about through the roof. I mean, you got a lot of different elements happening. Of course, you got the government coming in with their money, and it's a mess. Okay, Atlanta needs this, but because companies are woke and they're just buying to all these lies and woke propaganda, they'll do stuff like this, which is going to hurt those they are purporting themselves to be helping. So as I close, I want to say this: Georgia has done the right thing. Shout out to Georgia, Brian Kemp, and everybody else that made this possible. You guys are doing the right thing. You're giving your constituents confidence. You're giving them security. These woke companies are just dogpiling on Georgia right now because it's popular to do. Okay, it's a PR type thing happening. But a lot of, if not the majority of baseball fans are conservative. So this will not actually help you very well if you're trying to do this for PR purposes. It's not really going to be a good look for you, Major League Baseball. So you might want to tighten up and do something else because the route you're going on right now ain't the right one. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that Georgia's new voting laws are racist? Is it the equivalent to Jim Crow, as Joe Biden said? Joe Biden kind of dogpiled on Georgia as well, talking about he supports what Major League Baseball did by boycotting the whole state. Do you agree with them? Do you agree with what Creepy Joe said? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or do you think that I'm correct in my assertion that this whole thing is hogwash? The part about it being it disenfranchises black folks is very insulting. I know how to read, okay? And if you can't read, maybe you shouldn't vote. How about that? If you can't read C-Spot Run, then how are you going to be able to know who to vote for? Because you got to read that too, okay? Delta requires ID to get on a plane. They require ID to get your tickets. Major League Baseball requires ID to get your beer and to pick up tickets. But to require an ID to vote is somehow racist. I'm having a hard time figuring out how this makes sense. So you guys know where I'm at. The whole outrage mob thing is bogus. And what's happening right now is a culture war between regular people that think that voting with an ID is perfectly fine and those that might want to cheat and those that have been brainwashed by those that might want to cheat, thinking that somehow requiring an ID is racist. Okay? You got to have an ID for everything in your basic everyday life. So it's not racist. Let's stop the madness. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.